From Oscar Steakhouse, inside the Plaza Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, you're on the corner of Main Street. Welcome to the only podcast produced by and recorded in the Las Vegas Hotel Casino. From gaming to dining to entertainment to sports to Vegas history, this is the place to be for the inside scoop, because this is the place to be downtown. Now, here's Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel.
Good morning, everybody.
It's morning time.
We are here in, first time ever in the Derby Suite. First time doing a podcast in the Derby Suite, I should say. We are not doing an introduction today because we have our guest with us right now. Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street and welcome to the Derby Suite, Travel Ruby.
Thank you.
Gary, you want to do a formal introduction?
No, I think you got it.
No, go on, introduce our guest today.
Joining us today is one of Las Vegas's top content creators specializing in hospitality reviews and gaming. Welcome, Elyse Schultz, a.k.a. Travel Ruby, to On the Corner of Main Street.
Yeah.
How did that sound? Was that good?
That was good.
Okay.
I like that. Thank you.
And it's a very big deal for us to have you here, Ruby. Can I call you Ruby or should I call you
You can call me Ruby. That
Ruby,
works.
we're honored to have you here because we've been trying to have you come on our podcast for a long time. And as I told you on the way up, I was like, I was waiting for the cancellation text.
He's never going to let it go.
But she's here in the flesh. We have Ruby here, so thank you for joining us. And then, like I said, welcome to the Derby Suite. We're very proud of this room. We have 3 of these. It's our biggest suite in the hotel.
It's awesome.
And it's good to have you. So on the way up, you told me you just come back from Reno.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was fascinated by what you were telling me on the way up. So before Gary asks you any questions or begins, why don't you just tell me what we were talking about in the elevator on the way up?
So we have been invited a few times by the Peppermill Hotel in Reno. They have been working with a few of these slot manufacturers to do these big debuts of games. And they invite a ton of us influencers in. And
I've seen every influencer up there over the last... How long has it been open up there?
Oh, gosh, the Peppermill?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea.
They did a big remodel of it recently, which is why they've been invited.
Yeah, I went and did my first day where I did an actual Travel Ruby review last year. That was last year, winter time, I think. And after that, they really kind of dove all into it. They did some surveys, I guess, of their players. They did a couple surveys asking, do you guys watch influencers? And I think under the age of 50, it was nearly 50% of their players. And then of those players, how much does the influencers affect your play? And it was influence you of what you play and where you play. And it was very overwhelming. They said the response was crazy, that especially a slightly younger gambler, which I know gambling these days, they're trying to get those younger players back. They said that the influencers are really contributing to that. And then we also had a slot company who did something similar. They ran a blind survey asking gamblers what do you play? How do you know what to play? And a lot of them mentioned influencing. So I think the hotel is just kind of diving all into that, which is really interesting. And from my perspective, having been doing what I do for going on over 4 years at this point, it's very interesting to see the shift. It's interesting to see the hotels and the casinos catch on. We used to hide our filming. We used to sneak around. It's very interesting to see the huge tidal shift that social media is influencing advertising. It's fascinating, actually.
Yeah, and so you're exactly right. And at G2E, there was a panel, and the RJ did an article about influencers are coming to the market, and it's a new thing. And I was kind of irritated by it, to be honest with you, because
you've been doing it for 8 years. You've been welcoming everybody in.
We've been talking about it since 2018, really, 6 years maybe.
Yeah.
We've been embracing it. We've been talking. I'll never forget. I was with a very prominent casino owner, and he said, "Jonathan, I just read in the paper that you're partnering with an influencer, YouTube slot player." He's like, "You're wasting your time. It's just kids, and no one's watching that stuff." And I was like, "I'm just telling you, man. I'm seeing 65-year-old ladies watching YouTube, people playing slots."
Absolutely.
And today, everyone's embracing it. Like you said, it's become a major part of the business. So I was kind of irritated, that article was it's a new thing. I was like, we've been doing it now. So I'm glad that there's some real data now, because we've never done any data behind it. We've never studied it. We've never it's just my gut feeling was that influencers are going to influence.
Oh, it's totally correct.
And it's going to be a big part of I got to tell you, I did a thing on YouTube where a day in the life, and these people playing bingo. There's all these older people, not older, but 55 to 70 playing bingo, and they all watched the video. They were all booking reservations because of it. So to me, it's meaningful, tangible business. And so I'm glad to hear that Peppermill's jumping on board and others are starting to really embrace it, as you're seeing. I mean,
yeah.
G2 is like one of the more talked about things is the influencers.
It's interesting that you said that. I know you guys invited us. You were one of the first ones to ever invite us. We had 25,000 subscribers at the time. And that was like mind blowing to us that a hotel wanted to have us come, wanted to have us like review the room. And like, we were just absolutely ecstatic. And it took so long for the other hotels to catch up to you guys. Like, it took a long time. And now it's really interesting as well because social media is changing so quickly. You're speaking about how this older generation is watching. They're watching YouTube. We have a lot of the older following on YouTube, but if you need the young ones, you need to jump to TikTok.
Absolutely,
you need to jump to. So our platform had to like web out into so many different directions. It's kind of overwhelming to try to like hit everyone. It's crazy how many new people we can collect from like TikTok to come over to the channel that are a younger demographic. And it's just interesting to see it's progressing so rapidly and like spreading into so many different revenues. And like our niche, like when we started this, like we had no idea that this was even a business or anything. This was just for fun. And the way that it has kind of exploded is just nuts. And G2E last year was the first year they did the influencer program. And it was like a real quick, like, we'll give you guys a tour of the games. Cause like you can't get in there. A lot of people don't understand G2E doesn't work. You can't just walk into a booth. Like, we didn't have any appointments set up or anything last year. We had no clue what we were doing. Compared to this year, we've been reached out to by nearly every single booth. Please come, we want to show you this. Please come and do this. Please. It's like a night and day difference of one single year, which is so interesting to me. And they had like a whole package for the influencers and swag and all these things. And it's really wild to see that immediate like, whoa, wait a second. There's no way to advertise a slot machine. How do you guys advertise that? How do you tell people where they are? How do you tell people like how the game is? And even new people who want to gamble but maybe feel a little bit like trepidatious because there's no manual on how to gamble and you're spending money. You don't want to do it wrong. Not that there's a wrong way to play a slot machine, but I've definitely put money in a machine and had the wrong denomination set and bet an $80 spin. That's absolutely happened to me. No, unfortunately. And we were confused why people crowded around us. I think they thought I was going to sit there and do $80 spins. But that's happened. So people even use it as like a learning tool. They use it as like, does this new game play how I want it to do? And then, their experience is going to vary, but it's still like, here's how the game works and it interests them and they can see where it is, especially when people are coming on a trip. I've had people request, can you guys go play at Caesars? I want to see like what they've got on the floor. Can you guys go play at Flamingo? I want to see what they have on the floor. I want to see what games I should go play. So it's really changing how people like plan for their trips, which is how Travel Ruby started, was helping people plan for trips.
Well, that's a great segue.
That was going to be my first question. So how did you get started in this? And tell us a little bit about yourself, your backstory.
Where are you from?
Originally, I am from Wisconsin. Me and my husband lived in Milwaukee, and I have a culinary degree. I have my baking and pastry degree. I was in that industry for 10 years.
Best pastry in Las Vegas.
Don't put me on the spot like that. I don't know.
No?
I'll get back to you.
All right, get back to us.
There'll be a video about it soon.
Right? Yeah, stay tuned. Subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. So I was in the pastry field when we were coming to Vegas. We took our first trip here 2016, 2017. Did a lot of things right. Like we booked a big suite because we didn't know, we like wanted a big fancy room. Spent a ton of money, and I always had the little card that you're supposed to have, your MGM card, and I spent it all over the place. It was at the Mirage, actually. RIP to the Mirage. I'm sad. But we spent a ton of money and had it all on the card. And then I remember we left, and like 2 months later, it was like, come back. Here's all your bounce back offers. And we were like, oh, we can just go back, and they're giving us a free room. And we like couldn't believe this.
Because you had, not because you gambled, but because you had done other things.
No, we were barely gambling. Like, I mean, my husband really likes to gamble, but it was like we were doing so many other things.
Okay.
And so again, kept coming back. The gambling kept increasing because you could really win at this time. Like 2018, ooh, the gambling was good here. And so we kept coming back and back and back. And I'm a big like type A planner person. I have a lot of Virgo in my horoscope chart. And so I just really like to like put together my trips. And there was like no information. Like I would go on Pinterest and I'm like digging through articles that are like old. Like I'm like, no one is talking about like the best bars to go to. No one's talking about how annoying at that time, even they didn't mark the Uber pickup because it was still weird. Even that, like just a few years ago, like trying to get an Uber here was kind of a weird thing because the cab union was like unhappy about this. So like I didn't know where to get an Uber, you know? And so we made our first video in like August of 2019 that was like 10 of my best travel tips. And it was like, here's the airport and here's where you go. Like, here's a place I really like. Here's a bar I really like. Here's this. Just some fun info.
So you're still a pastry chef in Wisconsin,
Correct.
but now you're fascinated by Vegas. And you're
We just
traveling out.
loved it, and I didn't think there was a ton of info. My husband he's like a very creative-minded person, and he gets into these little interests, and video editing was interesting him at the time. He just thought it was kind of interesting and wanted to like throw together a video. I had like a horrible snowball mic. Like the audio is awful. The footage is like really like stolen clips of not stolen, but borrowed clips from other people. Like we had nothing. We threw the video up and forgot about it, and it caught the algorithm. I think my husband's brilliant thumbnail of two really beautiful women in bikinis helped. I think because people were like, I clicked because of the photo. Anyway,
Yeah, that works.
it took off. And he came back and was like, hey, if we do like a couple more, this could get monetized. And I was like, oh, we could make a little bit of money. This is interesting. And then 2020 happened. And I got laid off from my job temporarily. They promised me it would be back, but I got laid off from my job. Our wedding got canceled. My husband already worked from home. And so when Vegas opened back up, he's like, let's go like film a bunch of stuff and throw this on this platform.
This is when we connected.
We're going to do this because we can't do anything else right now. So we came, we reported on all the things happening. Like our first ever update video that we do every month that we've done for the last 4 years was in June of 2020. And it was like, here's all the restrictions and here's things that you have to worry
So
about.
you do a monthly video where you talk about the happenings in
Yeah,
Vegas.
every single month. We've been doing that for years. It's
Okay.
it's one of our big staples. And we uploaded our first gambling video in 2020. And just it was kind of an all-encompassing Vegas platform. Like we just wanted to show everything, buffets, whatever, everything. As stuff was opening, we were just running to show it. And it just exploded. And we weren't expecting it. We like didn't plan this. Like we had no idea what we were doing. I know some people set out to be like, I'm going to be on YouTube. Like that was not the case. We just threw this together and it just started happening kind of like.
And you were the face of it, and your boyfriend was the behind the scenes editor.
Yes, my boyfriend at the time was husband now. He was,
Okay.
he taught himself how to use a camera, how to use the equipment, how to edit, how to upload. He already was doing internet marketing, so that was really
kind of
a wonderful transition.
Yeah.
And I just did what I do right now. I just spewed stuff out.
Speaking of internet marketing, welcome Joshua. His first day on the job. Well, on this job. Been with us for 6 months. Is he on camera, by the way? Or can anyone see him?
No.
Announce yourself.
I'm Josh. I've been here for the past 9 months. I came from casino marketing, moved up to actual marketing.
Good. Welcome. And Sarah, of course, is here helping with the podcast. Always like to shout out the people with us.
Yeah.
And on the journey.
Sorry, guys. We can always cut you out if you want.
I love seeing like the marketing people all being around like my demographic because I think it's so interesting compared to like the old guard of like people who run things. But anyhow, it was essentially by the time I was offered back my job in pastry, I'd already cut down to part-time because we were putting so much time and effort into this. And after a year, I
You were still
quit.
traveling back and forth.
Correct.
Between,
Yeah. So for up until 2 years ago, we traveled here once a month. We would come for 7 to 10 days. The longest trip was 14. Film as much as we physically could. Come back. My husband would just sit on his computer and we would edit and push stuff up as fast as we could.
It's incredible.
it
and you were
was-
monetizing it through YouTube.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. At that point, we were already monetized. Spending a lot of our own money. We definitely invested a lot into
course.
which you
Right.
should always invest in yourself if you're going to do anything. But we invested a lot of money into this when it first started. Definitely had videos that were not like did not make money, but all of it just contributed to the portfolio to just keep building
going,
this
yeah.
as it just kind of expanded. And then obviously eventually it did so well that we were at the Palms reopening, I think, and had to rush home and edit, and there was kerfuffle with our flight, and it was so frustrating. And I just looked at him and I was like, we need to move there. Like, this is getting crazy. Like, we need to move there. And we were like, okay, well, when we do that, we're starting a whole slot channel for sure.
Slots instead of just travel.
Yes, having two separate
have both
channels.
now.
We have both now. We were only uploading slot play
I
on
think I
our.
remember your first ever slot video when you were doing it.
And if we had seen the writing on the wall and the way that we just kind of were so one-track focused and not paying attention, those videos now have like 800,000, 900,000 views. And if we had started our slot channel then, I can't even imagine how big it would be right now. It would be huge.
Yeah.
So, hindsight's 50-50 on that or whatever
You
they
can still
say.
get there.
Oh yeah, eventually. Our goal really was to just start a second stream, another channel, so that we could upload every single day and not alienate our Travel Ruby viewers, because we were uploading only a slot play like once a month. And I didn't want suddenly to flood that channel with tons of slot play. So we started the next channel. We're very fortunate. It got monetized immediately because
you
of
had
the
to follow in
crossover.
from your other one.
Yes.
Yeah, no, isn't it amazing how the pandemic was so bad for so many people, but yet it created so much opportunity for other people. I mean, this podcast was born out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We only started doing this there. And
Yes.
so much other things changed in the
Yes.
industry and for people like yourself, where
Yes.
they just totally changed their entire life course.
Everything. Yeah, absolutely.
And had the pandemic not happened, you probably wouldn't have maybe not ever made that switch. And today you're one of the biggest influencers in the city of Las Vegas.
One of them, yeah, absolutely.
Would you say, is that fair?
Oh yeah, one of definitely.
yeah.
There's a lot now. There are a lot of us now.
Yeah,
A lot of slot YouTubers, a lot of Vegas YouTubers and YouTube and content creators. I mean, like short form content has really exploded.
Right.
So there's even more creators at this point, just constantly.
I'm thinking you're becoming a slot player, a slot influencer.
We-
Stop playing slots in front of you.
You should do it. Well, I know, and that's the thing. I feel so guilty when people are like, "What's your advice? How do we do it?" And I'm like, our whole story is so like serendipitous, and there was like this really good bit of right place, right time luck kind of thing that happened to us, where like we didn't ever have a point where our slot channel wasn't monetized. It just immediately got monetized.
Because you had the following from the travel channel.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I feel really trepidatious to ever be like, you should do this. Cause it's like our story kind of happened in this domino effect that like, I know was a very like unique experience.
Right.
So we're just very lucky. Yeah.
You're also an excellent firework igniter. I can highly recommend you for fireworks
I
igniting.
nailed that.
Nail
It was
the
just
job.
hilarious how I come up there and it's like, obviously you guys have the box and all of a sudden right before you're like, okay, and don't do this. And then and I'm like, and then this is going to happen behind you, but don't turn. And I'm like, okay, like I
You
got
have
it.
no idea what we're talking about. Every Friday we do Friday night fireworks and Travel Ruby. Ruby was invited to be the igniter where you fake push the button.
And so it's
my
just like
kids are actually behind you pushing the real button, which starts the confetti.
The confetti and then
so they had to time up with me because they're like, don't pause, don't stall, and I'm like, okay.
It was our first year ever doing it. This year we're going to have a better dynamite stick so that we have a better lighting experience. But it was a first year.
You learn and you grow, but I mean the turnout was amazing.
Yeah, it was great. We got
People
so much
didn't
good
realize it was
PR.
totally free. I was like, guys, you can.
Really sure.
I mean, because it's not easy to just get into a pool. That's like a huge question I get all the time. Like, can I go into any pool in Vegas? You're like, no. You gotta stay there. You gotta, But so it's like, no, you can just go up to the pool deck. It's really cool.
Yeah, Friday night fireworks was a great amenity for us. Amazing how now that it's stopped, we're just doing it for the summers. Amazing now that stopped, how many people come up to you and say, please, can you restart it? Can you do it? Maybe run longer next year. I was like, through winter. I don't know. We'll see. Some of our neighboring casinos wanted to come back because they all love it.
Absolutely.
It's a place for people to go watch.
Yeah.
It's a nice
I
addition
bet.
to downtown. We're definitely going to bring it back.
But then you remember how cold it is on New Year's Eve when you're doing the fireworks and
Yeah.
everybody's kind of
You say
they're
cold.
partying. Well,
Yeah, she's
From Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, right?
Right.
It's probably 30 degrees in Wisconsin right now.
In December, she
40.
swims in the pool here.
Yeah, right.
Right, pretty much. No, I can't believe how quickly I'm adjusting to these temperatures. Like I'm gonna go home and be a huge baby. Like when I go back, I know it because I'm getting so adjusted. Like I'm wearing a sweater and it's like 70 degrees outside for Pete's sake. Like if I was back in my Wisconsin blood, I'd have a tank top on.
Right.
now. Like,
This would be your summer.
this is not normal.
How has life been living in Vegas, and have you adjusted to it?
We absolutely love it. I feel like a lot of my I had a lot of I don't know about moving there because I didn't know much about just being a local in Las Vegas. Our whole experience was that of tourism, and we love it. I mean, our neighborhood we just bought a house is amazing. I love the landscape. I don't think that's something that you really realize when you
desert landscape.
when you visit the Strip. It's just this concrete jungle. You don't get to really realize just how beautiful the desert really is around you until you go and explore it. So seeing the mountains is amazing because, I'm used to a lake. I'm not used to these beautiful, gorgeous mountains and the sun shining every day. I mean, that's one thing people don't understand. I explained in Milwaukee, you can have 2 weeks where it's overcast the entire time. You do not see the sun. And that can get really tiresome. So the weather's amazing. There's just...
You haven't fallen foul of any of the vices of Las Vegas? Any of the partying, gambling?
That's the
I
thing.
mean, you're always out.
We traveled here all the time, so we partied it up for sure back then, like clubbing and things like that. Now, we're early risers. Like I get up before the sun's up usually. My husband's even earlier. It's like an absurd time. So we go to bed early. Like we're not quite I actually also am still trying to adjust to everybody eating dinner at 8 o'clock at night. That is not my experience at all. I'm used to a 5:30 dinner.
5:30?
Oh yeah. So like I'm like dining with all the like elderly people. Normally we can always get a reservation because
Right.
I'm not used to this late dining and we get up really early. When we first moved, we kept getting up before stuff was open, and we're like, oh, nothing's like, why is
Yeah.
it like the post office wasn't open yet? We're like, wait, what?
I think people do forget like Las Vegas has such a wonderful, healthy lifestyle if you want it.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Eating dinner early, sleeping early, waking up early.
You
the
can
things we're talking
absolutely.
about.
All of our
Versus
neighbors.
going to bed, go for dinner at 10 o'clock, and then to a club, and then to a strip club, and then waking up at midday, and you can have a pretty good lifestyle.
I mean, most of the people that aren't tourists, like all our neighbors, they don't even go to the strip like at all. Like they don't set foot there. Like they live a very normal, like suburban. It's like the biggest little city ever. All around it is just suburbs, and then you have the strip, and then everything else is like little suburbs and just like quiet areas. So you really can just be completely normal. And in terms of vices with like gambling, we're monetizing our gambling. So
Right.
that's the
Your
best
gambling's-
justification to keep gambling ever.
Your
And I always say,
gambling's
like, I was like
profitable.
watching people now play. I'm like, oh, if I wasn't like filming this and making money, I would never.
It'd be really painful.
Never.
So
Yeah.
since you started your videos as a tourist,
Yes.
now that you're a local, have you felt that your videos have changed more geared towards
I
the locals
try
versus
to
the tourists? Like, how
not-
do you balance that?
I try to not let that be the case. It is interesting because I know that as a viewership, you can definitely feel the shift. One thing you have to understand is that I do feel like I've gotten a really good perspective from being a tourist originally. Imagine you're here for 7 days. You do not have a car. All of your meals, all of your drinks, everything has to be sourced around you locally, or you have to Uber to get it. And then trying to save money while doing so. So like, where do I get coffee that's not in a huge line to Starbucks? Where do I get my bottles of water? Where do I get cheap food when I'm kind of running out of a budget and I just want something cheap? And that made us super resourceful and got us really a good lay of the land in the tourism point of view. When we moved here, it was kind of this fun thing of like, well, now we can show stuff that's not tourism related. We definitely started focusing a lot on off-strip casinos, which was amazing. There's a lot of really great off-strip and off-downtown casinos, like really good ones.
Thank you. Yeah. many. By the way, to answer your question about the pastries, the best pastries in the whole city there's two, and they're downtown. Publicus on Fremont and Maryland is
Okay.
the best chocolate chip cookie and croissants.
Okay.
And other pastries, and 1228 Main. Both
That's the second person I've heard say 1228 Main,
the pastries
actually.
of those two places, world class. Put them up against anything on the strip or anywhere else in the city.
I'm gonna have
you
to
never
go.
been to Publicus?
No?
You need to go there after this.
I know.
Coffee and pastries.
If you could see the list of, it sounds like, we're doing this 4 years. It sounds like we should have done so much. It's ridiculous how many
much more you have
places
to go?
there are in Vegas. It's like, I was just talking to a friend who's lived here 7 years, and they're like, my goal has always been to have eaten at every single place that's open in Las Vegas. And in 7 years, I have not accomplished it. You can't. It's so hard. It is so hard. So yeah, and I'm actually not too much of a sweet tooth either, which is really funny. I mean, I
Okay.
went into pastry I love making, but I'm not a huge sweet tooth, and
I see you eat at all the buffets though. You try out the buffets.
I'm not even really a huge buffet person
No,
either,
I
but
hate
the
buffets,
market
but-
is I think the miscalculation of getting rid of all the buffets in Las Vegas was
Huge.
a big one. I think it was a miscalculation. I greatly think that it brings in a lot of people into your casino, just looking at South Point alone, which, I mean, South Point's nuts no matter what, but that buffet is constantly packed. I would also cite the Palms.
You know how many people the South Point feeds on a daily basis?
I bet it's a lot.
I mean, it's like, I think last weekend I heard they fed like 60,000 people.
I believe it, and it's reasonably priced, and the food is like solid and it's clean, and like even I would cite the.
Solid and clean feel like the bare minimum that they should be for food.
You would think so, and yeah,
You've been at buffets that aren't solid and clean.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh.
okay.
And I would say also, if you look at the Palms and their success in bringing everyone back, because that was a locals casino and they'd even switched, ownership. And it was like, okay, this is going to be interesting to see how they get their market back. Because once gamblers switch to a place, they get loyal to that place. They brought back their buffet.
People
And
come
that
back.
place is nuts when I go in there sometimes. I mean, absolutely nuts. And it's off strip, and it's because they brought
So
back their buffet.
downtown, I saw you at Main
Street
Street
Station.
They have a buffet, but not every day, right?
It's every day. Their brunch is every day. Their
Is it?
dinner is only on weekends. And when I went in there on a Tuesday morning, it was absolutely packed.
Really? And it's the only one
Absolutely
left
packed.
downtown.
Only one
to
left
their
downtown.
credit, yeah.
And it was absolutely packed. So thinking that there's no longer a market or deciding that this was a reason to get rid of buffets, I know that they are a money loss for casinos, but I do think that they need to understand like how slot players work and how people work and like what perceived value there is in buffets. for a certain demographic of people, like being able to try a bunch of different things or being able to eat as much as they want of one thing is huge. And so I just think they kind of missed the mark by like getting rid of all the buffets. I think that was
eat at one buffet. Which would you eat at?
the win buffet.
Easy answer, I suppose.
Yes.
Also probably
Well,
most
Bacchanal
expensive.
is the No, Bacchanal is more expensive, and Bacchanal is my second favorite. They have an incredible variety, but I tend to feel more crowded and rushed at Bacchanal than at the Win. I was sitting at the Win at our table just chilling there, and our server came up, and I was waiting for them to, rush us along. He's like, "Would you like a cup of hot tea?" And I was like, "I would love a cup of hot tea. Like, let me just sit here." It's
Right.
impeccable. I mean, impeccable service. So for me, the Win kind of spills it over there just in terms of like, if you want to just have like a long brunch, if you have done your trip and you're just like absolutely exhausted, that
Right.
last day where you like checked out of your room and now you're like, well, now what? I don't want to walk around anymore. I've out-gambled myself. I'm exhausted. That's like the perfect day to do a buffet. Like go order mimosas and like sit in there and just hunker
You
down.
got my mind spinning about where we could do a buffet.
Yeah.
Oh man, we used to have one when I first came here. We had a buffet, Chinese buffet actually.
And some of the
777.
restaurants have gotten a little bit into that as well, doing like morning buffet style
Yeah.
brunches and things. And like, I think they do pretty well for those restaurants. It's nice to just have a set price point. People really like that. They like to know what they're spending because let's face it, Vegas is extremely expensive now. Like it's gotten crazy.
So I know a lot of influencers. It's great that you talk about that. A lot of no, it's not great. It's not good that Las Vegas has become so expensive. But a lot of influencers have talked about, and I kind of think it's got some merit, that the biggest threat to Las Vegas is overpricing itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have
I
you noticed
completely
that
agree.
on the places you're going to now?
So it's being local and also doing this for a living. I have to be really remind myself to be cognizant of just how expensive things are because I'm very numb to it at this point.
Right.
Very numb to the fact that the cocktails are $18. Like
But you're getting comped to most places.
we get comped a lot. That is true, 100%. And that's another thing that you have to really be aware of is that like I get a lot of stuff for free, but the average person is going to spend their money
Right.
on this. And so trying to keep that balance is tricky and reminding myself that like in a normal city, this is still outrageous. Now, I will say if you go to Disney World or you go to Chicago at some of their bars, go to New York City, stuff's still really expensive. Traveling is expensive, but Vegas is getting to the point where every little step they're getting you, and it's a point.
Yeah.
Paying for parking to me truly started to feel like a real slap in the face. I think paid parking is absolutely a huge problem because I was surprised by how many tourists do like to bring a car. Quite a bit. In our
Oh, yeah.
California,
Yeah.
California, I think is second highest state that watches us, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They love to come here. They don't want to pay for their parking.
California's number one by far.
It's and in terms of my viewership. Like
Oh,
I
your
go by
viewership.
state.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
California was second. I think Texas is third.
Okay.
In terms
number
of
one being local.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, being the locals.
So I'm okay with paid parking as long as it's validation. Because I get the idea to protect your spaces for your actual customers, especially downtown, but
Right.
everywhere. Like if you're the Venetian, why should you be free, or Palazzo, why should you be free if everyone's just going to go watch that Sphere?
And
right?
that's very true. And for us, we're very lucky. We gamble enough that we have free
Yeah,
parking
free
in many,
parking
many
everywhere.
places because we gamble. But some of them, it's quite a bit. And I do like Main Street. If you spend $30 in there, they will
Yeah.
validate you.
Correct.
That should be the standard. I
So I
think.
had friends that went to a restaurant at the Bellagio. They spent $700 on dinner.
Right.
And then they had to go outside and pay $40 to
Yeah,
park. And the
that's-
$40 isn't it's just the principal. I spent $700.
It's absurd.
How do I pay
I
40
completely agree.
after that? And that to me is just
That's what I mean. I think that if someone is in here spending money in your hotel, as long as they have spent every major restaurant, every whatever, they should be asking you, do you need your parking validated? Because I think that's kind of outrageous. But again, even with the cheap food, we're seeing these mass increases in like $1, $2, $3, and it's like, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, everyone vacations differently, and some people do get a thrill out of having a vacation that they did for very cheap. Like they get a kick out of being like, I barely spent any money,
Right,
and I had an absolute blast. When I first started our channel, there was a lot of ways you could do that, and they keep getting more expensive. And
tough,
you
yeah.
know, like the cheap breakfast, now it's $7. It used to be $4, and it wasn't a great breakfast, but it was $4. And now you're getting it to the point where I'm like, is it even worth it for them to walk the distance to get to this breakfast? Like, it
the
complicates.
price gouging is getting out of
It's
control.
getting out of
And
control.
it's tough. On the other hand, if it's genuinely incredible and it costs a lot of money to make or to build or to operate,
Correct.
then it's justifiable, right? So I would tell you, like, the cost of going to see the Eagles at the Sphere is
Of
very, very
course.
expensive.
Of course.
But once you see it, you'll be like, this is once in a lifetime.
And that's the
quality.
other thing with dinners, like we do our 10 best restaurants every year. It's one of our big things that we do each year where I pick 10 new ones that I really loved. And some of the comments are like, these prices are outrageous. And I'm like, try the food.
Give me your top 3 from last year.
Oh, I didn't rank them. They're not ranked. They're just 10 that I loved because it's all different cuisines. So it's not fair to, I think last year we had Fuhu on our list.
Okay.
Sinatra was either on our list last year or the year
Sinatra's
previous. Sinatra's amazing. Where else did I list? We had.
You really are a win girl, though, I see.
I love the Wynn. The Wynn's amazing. The Bellagio is actually my favorite hotel, though.
Oh, really?
I think the Bellagio and the Wynn are hot sisters.
Yeah.
And I think they both have a little bit different things going for them, but they're hot sisters.
Not a coincidence the same person built them.
No kidding. It's the style, it's the flair of that. It's very distinctly Las Vegas. It's Italy, but it's Vegas. And
it's somebody who understood people, vision, human interactions that built those places and destinations that, frankly, was something that was must see. And nobody since him has been able to. Steve Wynn, nobody since him has been able to build. I know you do, but just so the listener knows what we're talking about. Nobody since him has been able to replicate that or build anything even close to that. And we talked about this with Alex Yamanigian on our last podcast. But new casino openings these days lack the buzz and excitement of the old days. But the Bellagio, when it opened, who builds I saw the Fountain Show last week. It's still amazing 25 years later.
Absolutely stunning.
It's like the Bellagio was must see.
We stayed in a suite and they gave us like the most incredible view of that fountain. And I was like, this blows so many things, so many experiences out of the water of being in Las Vegas that like I can't not think the Bellagio is just
and if I'm not mistaken, you can put the music on from the Fountain Show in your room.
In your
right?
room.
Yeah.
And so even though they don't have the balconies.
Yes, but you can still play the music.
It is so, the windows are floor to ceiling. It's such an incredible, perfect overview, even with like the F1 monstrosity in the front. It was like absolutely beautiful.
Hold on, I thought you were an F1 fan. That is a monstrosity, that fountain thing.
I'm fine with F1. Okay. I think that it's a very fun thing to experience, but I do think a lot of the chaos on the front of the strip and how kind of just disruptive it is for anyone who's vacationing that doesn't care, I think is a little bit of a problem. I particularly was offended by them putting the coverings over the walkways. Now, I understand there is a safety issue to letting people stand on a walkway, which I don't think people were.
But that's not why they're doing it.
But that's not. I have my understanding of why everything is the way it is, but I do think if you're going to make this massive spectacle, being so wary of people getting to catch it for free is a little irksome, personally. And it wasn't nearly as disruptive this year in terms of being a local. Last year, because we come down the strip at least once a week to make content. Trying to get in there and out of there, like G2E just this year, both Spring Mountain entrance and the other entrance, they both have lanes shut because they're constructing that massive thing.
Yep.
And you're trying to get into this convention and it's like a huge headache and like it can get a little frustrating.
Yeah, but you went last year. I saw you there.
I went last year and
you
going
were
to
invited.
it, we were, yes. And going to it was fabulous. It was really fun. I mean, I really liked it, but it's a lot. It's a lot. I think that they'd have to rework. I don't know.
That's why we're trying to do the
understand,
alternative to it this year downtown.
because as far as I understand, a couple of casinos were like, this was the best thing we've ever done.
Right.
And they had an amazing experience with
Right,
F1.
right.
And everyone else was like, we were barren for 2 months. This was really bad.
It wasn't
So-
just downtown. It was anyone that wasn't within the footprint or super high end was saying
Correct.
the same thing
Right.
on the strip.
So it's really polarizing and complicated. I'm really glad I don't have to like consider these issues. Like my opinion is just one. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I think even when I didn't even know how it had done when we did our video. Like I was like, I know it had a lot of negative press. I don't know how the event turned out. And people were like, oh, it went amazing. I'm like, for some people it went amazing. For others it didn't. So it's interesting. It's interesting and
It
complicated.
did look great on TV. If you're sitting in if you're sitting on the East Coast, or if you're in Europe, and you're watching, it looks cool for Vegas as a billboard.
Truthfully,
But for
watching
locals-
the like screens from the drivers, I was like, this almost looks more fun to watch like at
On
home.
TV, yeah.
On TV.
It is.
It almost looked better than watching
Absolutely.
it like in person because you'd sit and they'd come by and you'd be like, that was cool, and then you wait and then they
It's
come
interesting
by.
that's so polarizing and like it's just a small event relative to Las Vegas. It's just so much inconvenience.
That's what
comes
it
with
is.
it.
It's only a weekend, but think of the Super Bowl, which was just massively successful for Las Vegas and absolutely amazing and like very minimally disruptive. I was in the airport for this. My friends proceeded to have her bridal shower in Wisconsin the weekend of the Super Bowl. And so I had to get out of here and back on that same weekend. even the airport was flawless. I mean, everyone was just all hands on, and it didn't disrupt anyone who wasn't here for that. So I think that's really interesting. Obviously, a more contained thing.
Yeah, I mean,
So
Vegas is built for things like the Super Bowl.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily built for something like F1 to
It's
disrupt the whole
tricky.
strip.
Well, this year it's even less people so far coming. I mean, our occupancy's down, ticket sales are down, even to last year, which is unbelievable
Okay.
to think about. So we'll see what happens. I mean,
I'm
if
just
it's, if
one
it's this
gal.
quiet,
Yeah, and I hate to, I don't ever want to bash like a huge corporation trying to do something, and it's in theory very cool.
yeah.
I just think there's a lot to it and I do think that it is a very bougie, posh sport,
Well, it
and
is,
so
absolutely.
I
You
think.
don't have to think that. That's a fact.
So when you've got these like big high rollers coming, some people are excited, but there can be this like aspect of like, well, I wasn't invited or I don't have that kind of money, so
Right. I mean, you can watch an
screw
F1
this.
race pretty much anywhere else in the world for a fraction of the price of the one here.
And that's the thing. So it's just I don't know enough about it to really
I
give
understand.
my opinion.
All right,
Honestly,
let's go back to content creation. So when you started out, I know the pandemic was obviously the important part of your
Yes.
story, but was there a video that like went viral or
So
that
our-
really was like, wow, this is big?
Our first 10 tips video hit 1 million views. And it's really difficult to hit 1 million view video. I think even to this day, we've been doing this for 4 years. I have maybe 4 or 5, and I have like,
Which is the number one video you've done?
it's 20 worst scams and ripoffs in Las Vegas.
Amazing that it's always the negative ones that people.
Always the negative ones. If
Why?
I could, because they feel that is honest. Unfortunately, as this business in influencing grows and as social media grows, companies catch on. They suddenly contact influencers. They want us to do stuff. They give us free stuff. And people feel that there is going to be a bias. And I empathize with that 100%. I understand. Someone was just given all this free stuff. Are they going to say anything negative?
Right.
I understand that.
Yeah.
The problem is that now there is this subculture where if you are negative, everyone's like, your candor is amazing. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
speaking on this. And people also like to get annoyed in things and mad at things. And so people respond to that. Comments really feed videos, and that's how they go viral. And so me making a video kind of being like, hey, watch out for those people handing out free CDs. And these stores with the leaf on them, it's not what you think it is. Like, kind of explaining these things that are like pitfalls.
Yeah, we also had this with Jen from Vegas Starfish. She said her number one video was like the trashing the cake machine.
If you are negative,
Yeah.
people really respond. So I'd be really wary as a viewer if you find an influencer is always negative.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same as being always positive, only worse, because you have this, oh, they're the honest one. They
Right.
keep it real.
Yeah, but I think there's other content creators that I've seen. I won't mention them by name, but they'll put out a video that says 5 reasons not to go to the plaza. And then after you watch that video, the next video is the 5 reasons to go to the plaza, right?
Yeah,
So like
that's
you're
not
putting
on
like ultra
accident.
negative and then ultra
I see
positive.
what you're saying.
That's
Yes.
not on accident.
Okay.
Right.
It's all about,
Clickbait to get the.
and
the-
I hate people using the word clickbait because they use it incorrectly a lot.
was that incorrect what you just said?
So if he's giving you 5 reasons to hate the plaza, the video is not clickbait. People will do clickbait. Let's say I'm doing a
No,
slot.
but preceded by 5 reasons to love the plaza.
So
Because
here's
that's deceiving, right? You're confusing the person.
it is and it isn't. Clickbait to me is when you are trying to get someone to click on your video that does not have the content that you said. For example,
Like two hot girls on the thumbnail of the video.
correct.
Okay.
That's clickbait.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. They thought those pretty women were going to be in the video and they were not. I have
Okay.
no shame. It's our first one. It did really well. But here's what clickbait is to me. Let's say I filmed a slot video, and I won $30 on the video. And then I title, this massive slot win. Oh my gosh, I won so much money. People are like, oh, and then they click it and I won $30.
Yeah.
That is clickbait.
Okay.
You have
You're
deceived.
using the title of the image to trick
You're
somebody into watching.
deceiving
I
people.
understand. Yeah.
That's clickbait. People use this really loosely.
Okay.
When you're doing a 5 things I hate, it's catchy. People want to see that, but it's not clickbait. They're delivering 5
No,
things they hate.
I'm okay with 5 things I hate if it's just genuinely 5 things you hate. I find it odd to do 5 things you hate
And
followed
then
by
5 things you
I
love.
love, because now you're confusing the guest. Well, do you love it or do you hate it? And
Correct.
to me, it's probably not clickbait. It's just confusing.
It's confusing and it gets thrown around.
I
and
understand what you're saying.
People, well, the problem is that the internet loves polarization and extremes. The algorithm, the people watching love extreme. They don't necessarily love a nuanced take.
Yeah.
Like a tactful, nuanced take isn't going to get as much of a response as someone being like, this is horrible. This is amazing.
Right.
Like it just gets a different reaction, and you are trying to get a reaction out of the viewer. So it's a very weird, like, tightrope to walk. Like
Absolutely.
for us, as this is our business, my tightrope is like, I know the people that work at these hotels. Like I think people need to understand when I'm giving my review and I'm being positive, they think like, oh, she just loves MGM. I don't love MGM, the company. I don't know MGM.
Right.
I see like the server who was really amazing and the housekeeping staff that worked really hard to make our room really nice. And like here I see the PR people and all these people putting in work. It's not this faceless conglomerate to me when I am giving a review. But on the other end of the subject, I have my viewership who they are owed honesty and a tactful way to tell them where to spend their money, because I, again, after doing this slot stuff and seeing this, it really hit me how many people are watching this and are taking my word and like believing in this.
Did you contract with LBCVA? The LBCVA, when they went out to influencers to get people to promote Las Vegas. Did you do anything with them?
No, I have not, no.
Okay, because I thought that was interesting, and it's trying to.
So it's interesting when you say a contract, because that's one thing that I would say is that people need to understand that getting something for free and signing a contract and or being paid monies are very, very different in the YouTuber world. And I think people conflate the two. When I'm given something for free, a lot of the times they're not even telling me to make any content. There's not even
It's just
agreement.
experience this.
It's not even an agreement that I will post anything. I have a choice, and I have experienced a lot of stuff that I personally was like, that was nice. I don't know that I would like go out of my way to promote that.
Okay.
And so I don't.
But you don't say it's not nice.
I don't.
You just say. You just don't say anything
I
at all.
maybe just don't say anything at all.
Which is what a lot of the
I
influencers
like
have
to
said.
trend it positive if I can. I think people are watching for ideas for their trip. I don't think they need to watch. I don't want my content to be the rage bait content. I'm just not interested in that. On the other end of the spectrum, if I've been paid to promote something, I am signing something saying I will not say anything negative.
Okay.
And I am promising that I will deliver content.
Okay.
And that is when you have to put ad or paid promotion, and you have to put that somewhere, and you have to iterate that I got paid for this and I'm not going to give a negative opinion.
Right.
So they're very different in my head. I view them very differently. And so I think that's something a lot of people don't know. They just don't know that about making content, is that free stuff doesn't mean I'm going to be nice. Like I don't have to.
No, you don't have to.
No.
But generally, you're just not going to say anything, which.
It depends. It depends. I mean,
If it's really bad.
If it's really bad, of course. And again, I choose that carefully. I'm very careful about when I want to be negative. But it's also a matter of if I go to a restaurant and I get to try several things, I love that I can say, I prefer this and this. I did not prefer this.
Yeah.
Because I think that's just honest, but I also think it's like constructive, because that's the other thing. I think when you're like a reviewer, your contribution is just to take someone's work and something that they like. I'm from the other end where I baked and cooked for people. Like to have someone sit down and try your food, to be so dismissive and be like, I hated that. Like, there's so much more to it.
It's
you need to be,
I get it.
especially because it's just my opinion. And I do feel, I've seen people talk about how the bigger that your channel gets, you're less relatable. And I agree, but for the wrong reason that they think. It is not that now I've gotten more free stuff. It's because there are so many more people watching. My opinion is not going to match a lot of them.
Right.
When I had 25,000 subscribers, they clicked my videos, agreed with something, had a good trip, and I connected to those 25,000. Now when there are over 300,000 people, millions of people have seen the videos, a lot of them are not going to have the same experience I'm going to have, no matter how honest I am.
That's true.
So when I'm eating, saying, I loved this, get this is great, isn't as helpful as saying, this tasted like this, I found the texture to be this way, I didn't prefer this dish, but I don't like shellfish. Like, being as wordy as possible really helps. So.
But you are genuinely an influencer, and therefore people are looking to you for opinions because they're going to act on those opinions.
Right.
So being honest and giving your genuine opinion is important because they rely on you. And if you give them bad advice and they go something, the steak's overcooked or the service is bad,
correct,
you lose credibility.
I try not to even mention service at all, because even if I'm not invited and we just show up, I still have a huge camera pointed in my face, and there's no way that the waitress or waiter didn't notice this.
Yeah.
And so my perception is already skewed.
That's true.
Already. Like
and
I'm
you
already
are recognized mostly wherever you go.
I'm not by people that work in the hotels, and if they do recognize me, they don't say anything. I've seen people, because we would try the $20 trick a lot, And it would work a lot. And people were like, it's just because they recognize you. Well, the factor is really just that we're there on a weekday and it's not busy, and they'll give the upgrade.
Yeah.
But I have to assure people, like, no, my subscribers have done this. It works. It absolutely works.
That's good to know because Gary thinks the $20 trick's dead.
It 100% works. I just had like 4 people a week ago tell me they tried
Sorry
it and it
to tell
works.
you.
Planet Hollywood works excellent. Venetian, it works really well. I've had people.
Plaza looks great.
I've had people at Bellagio that it works really well. Like if you are nice and friendly and you,
Is it $20 trick in that you're like sliding it over to them? Or is it $20 and like, here's $20?
Yeah, I think the whole sandwich between your ID and your credit card, trying to give them a 20 and
still
being
do
like,
that.
hey, can you? That's what you,
So
you do.
I hand it to them and I go, could you please let me know if there's any complimentary upgrades available? Is what I do. And then you can kind of tell by what she does. If she puts the 20 in front of you like that, she's probably not going to take it. Like they maybe don't have anything. Or sometimes they don't want to just assume and take it, even though you should always just give it to them regardless. But you can kind of tell they know the inventory of the rooms. That's all it is. They know if they have it, they're going to give it to you. Like it works.
Because
It's
they want
still,
the $20.
It's just, there is still great service here. It still exists.
Yeah.
This town still has excellent service and it's still a tipping town. And if you are friendly and you're a good tipper, like you're gonna see a difference in your service here, 1,000%.
I agree.
But again, it's just tough. I walk a tightrope where I see all the people that work behind the scenes at these hotels. I think a lot of these hotels have something to give a certain person. Even hotels that I don't love, they might work for some people. So you have to be really careful in your reviews. The more stuff I experience, the more it would be very off-putting to dine at somewhere and being like, I still like Oscars better. What help does that give people? Maybe they've already tried Oscars. They maybe want to try a new steakhouse. Let's not compare. Let's just let them all stand on their own ceremony. So it's not, I would say I take very great responsibility and care when I try to give someone an opinion. It's tough.
So you've experienced a lot of things here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
What do you think the town's missing or needs?
Ooh.
What do you think? What do you think would be?
Are there
a
any
good-
trends that you see that your people are looking at, or more intently?
If I could,
If you were building the Ruby Casino,
I
what
know.
would have happened there?
so I think in terms of practicality, every hotel needs reasonable and affordable dining that someone can grab. And you guys have that, and that's great. That's one thing I love about Plaza when I recommend it to people, is just that there is a little of everything. You guys have a fine dining restaurant, but you also have like cheaper eats people can go get. There's a place to get cheap coffee. You have coffee in your room, which is amazing, but that's only downtown really. You are in really close distance to go get bottled water somewhere that's going to be affordable. These things are just practical standpoint, but I would say another thing you guys just failed is putting in a show. And I think there are a lot of shows, but they only run certain times and they only run certain days, and they're always evening entertainment. And I do think people are looking for daytime entertainment.
Interesting.
I think.
Have you been to see our show yet?
Not yet.
You got to come and see it.
I would love
Why
to.
weren't you at the media night?
I don't know.
Don't tell me.
That's
Don't tell
your
me she
fault.
wasn't invited. Oh, look at Sarah now.
That's on you.
Sarah, really?
No,
You didn't get invited?
I
to
did
that?
not get invited to that.
That's really disappointing.
No, Ellen, I did invite you. Ellen, I was invited. No, I'm
You
kidding.
need to look into that, Sarah. That's not good.
They said they were gonna do their influencers. They were gonna
Well, we have our own influencer friends we need to invite.
It's the show's fault. I blame the show. No, I'm just kidding. So what I was going to say is that people have their nighttime entertainment planned out, or a lot of people are going to go to bars or clubs or something. But a lot of people, if they're not into swimming or gambling during the day, there's less to do. And if it's sweltering, you maybe don't necessarily want to walk around a ton. The museums are a good filler for that, but I do think daytime entertainment and or shows, like an hour and a half show during the day would be cool. I just think it would be really cool if there was like a search show running during the day. I think it would really fill a gap, because people are like, what do I do during the day? And I don't know what to do. You know what I
Someone in
mean?
the pools,
Because
yeah.
your evenings are all planned out. And I think it's because Vegas is kind of designed to either lay at the pool or sleep off a hangover during the day. But there are a lot more people that don't drink.
Play
Like,
pickleball.
right, in the 100-degree
golf.
100-degree weather, pickleball, golf, spa.
Yeah.
Spas are great. But I mean, truly, I do think some reasonably priced shows would not go amiss. Like some more
good idea.
shows. I think just some reasonably priced entertainment during the day. That's like a quick thing people could go do.
I know you mentioned at the beginning about Reno, but do you have any plans to take your channel and do more things outside of Las Vegas or outside of Nevada? Have you thought about that?
So it's interesting. When you are on YouTube, you have your niche. So you have your videos that people are looking forward to. In our case, it was Las Vegas, and that was not on purpose. That's why we called it Travel Ruby. The intention was always we could just go anywhere and film anything.
Yeah.
What you'll find is that it's very hard to leave your niche. People found you for this specific thing. And when we would try to film anything outside of Vegas, all the comments would say, when are you going to Vegas? And then YouTube is very helpful. It shows you who's clicking on this, how long they're watching, how it's doing compared to your other videos, and anything non-Vegas performed poorly, just right at the start.
Wow.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, interesting. Now the gambling is another scenario in this, in which case you can be at any casino, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And a lot of YouTubers do travel to casinos, mainly because a lot of them invite them and they'll give them free play and stuff.
But it's the same concept. It's casinos in other markets.
Correct. Right. And cruises, things like that.
Yeah.
But we moved here because we were really tired from traveling. So as much as I would like to take Travel Ruby more international, would like to go do more of these things, you have to understand that for us, it is strictly work. I don't think people understand that, like, when I film a hotel, that, like, it's not as fun as I'm making it look.
Right.
Oh, you just get to sit at a pool and drink a pineapple for a couple of, like, I was there 45 minutes so we could get the shots. And then we had to skedaddle and move. Like, I couldn't get my hair wet. Like, I can't, there's no relaxing when we're filming this content.
It's a job.
It's
a work.
It's
and
a
people
job.
just think you're just hanging out as if you're and capturing that.
It
but it's,
seems really, really fun, and it is. And I never want to complain about my job because, like, it is a dream job. It is so incredibly stimulating, and you are your own boss. You get to create your content, and you get to. Oh no, I get to try cocktails as a content creator. Like, who would complain about that?
Right.
But at the end of the day, it is work. You are working. Someone put it really succinctly. They said, like, content creators work hard, but it's not hard work. And I think after working in, like, pastry and, like, large scale
makes
pastry,
sense.
where I would get up at 4 a.m. and, like, bust out thousands of croissants, like, I understand that in a really,
that's a really good point. Well, speaking of which, I know you probably got a lot of other content to be filming and doing, and we don't want to take up too much of your time. We're pretty much there.
Yeah, we're pretty
Well,
much
what do you want to
there,
ask?
so-
Anything else? What's your favorite slot machine right now? No, didn't you do Whitney Houston with us? Didn't you launch Whitney Houston?
Yeah,
It's
it
a
went
fun
well.
game. I like
It's
Whitney.
fun.
It's a
Oh
good
yeah,
game.
people love the licensed ones with the music and stuff like that.
Do you have a favorite game right now?
Well, our favorite consistent slot is Dragon Link.
It's amazing.
Dragon Link. The
It's
math
like-
on Dragon Link is incredible.
Yeah.
It is perfect math, and
Yeah.
they're coming out with the new Phoenix Link.
Yes.
I am very eager to see how it is. They've added a lot of stuff, and that makes me nervous because every
People
time you
love
add things,
Dragon Link.
I love Dragon Link. Dragon Link is an ideal place to start if we're playing and we're losing, because we play everything because people want to see all the variety. If we're playing and we're losing, we are going to go back to Dragon Link. We were in Reno and we were in a downtrend, and we're like, went and played at $25 Dragon Link and hit a hand pay
There you go.
like that because it's.
I mean, it's a boring answer, but it seems like it's everyone's answer.
It
Dragon
is
Link
boring,
the most popular
unfortunately.
game
It
by far.
is just very consistent. It's
Yeah.
a consistent playing experience. It's not crazy volatile.
Yeah.
It's just a good, consistent slot machine.
Yeah.
I never tire of playing it because it's always going to be.
Credit to Aristocrat.
Aristocrat.
for doing this game, because Buffalo was untouchable, but Dragon Link is just
Not if you play the old Buffalo. We just hit, like, gosh, I mean, it was like a almost $200 win on, like, a 40-cent bet or something outrageous on the OG old Buffalo.
I know what you're talking
Now they keep adding
about.
stuff.
Buffalo Link, Buffalo
And the
Storm,
more
Buffalo
you
Lightning,
add,
Buffalo.
Yeah.
the more you add, the harder the machine is to play. They get more volatile. And the slot manufacturers actually keep saying that people want more volatile games, that they're losing the entertainment player,
Yeah.
which is interesting, that people aren't playing for entertainment anymore, which is all I'm doing. And they're watching us for entertainment, but they
What
want
are they
the
playing
stakes,
for? The big wins?
the big wins. And they said, because average bet is up
Oh yeah,
a
it's
lot.
Crazy.
And so they are putting out more volatile games, and they're doing better for them, which is really interesting to me, because a lot of our audience is like, I want something lower volatile. I want to sit on it. I want to play it.
Right.
But those aren't the ones that the manufacturers are finding are doing as well. So it's kind of fascinating.
they have the data.
They have the data. And so it's kind of fascinating that what people are saying to us doesn't line up with what's happening in the casino, which makes me think that the viewership is looking for entertainment. And I think they're finding it watching slot players lose all their money instead.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting.
So as we kind of wrap up here, is there any advice you'd like to give to content creators or people wanting to become content creators out there?
Yeah,
Young
like I
people in
said,
the industry breaking into it.
Yeah.
I think now is an advantageous time to get into it. For one, you have platforms. Understanding the platforms is interesting. You have platforms like TikTok, in which getting a video to go viral is actually not very difficult.
Right.
You can get massive views on a video with no subscribers at all. Something that YouTube will not do for you.
Right.
And so short form content is an excellent way to absolutely propel your channel. It just doesn't make as much money as long form content.
Right.
And so mixing those two things is really great. And also we are in an advent where the hotels are very welcoming. Like you guys probably have new people every day being like, I want to come do content. And it's easier than it used to be, I personally think. I do know now maybe some of the hotels are starting to get more selective because there is so many people flooding the space.
Right.
But you can get invited to events and you can get free stuff with not a huge following now, because these events are getting more and more eyes on them and more places are doing them. And there's more PR lists that are looking for new people to spread their content. And so this is not the same market that I stepped into. This is a very different social media market.
Right.
And I think you can grow if you just make good content. I mean, ultimately you have to make good content.
I think you're exactly right. And the hotels haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Right.
And so if you're making good content,
Yes.
we have a video on Instagram that's got like 30 million views of the chef dipping lobster legs into butter.
Anything with a lobster is going to do
Lobster,
amazing. People love lobster.
I don't get it.
They love to look at a lobster.
People
Big
love it.
pieces of food are
Yeah.
always anything with food is going to crush.
Anything,
a huge piece of
right?
food.
So it's like if you're creating good content and you know how to get it out there, I think you're
You
going to be
only
able
need
to.
you only need a phone. I mean, that's the beauty.
That's
you
the other
need
part
a
of it,
phone.
yeah.
Like you don't need the equipment that you think you need. And if you are just like persistent, a lot of people give up before it does anything for them. But with the advent of this short form content, I think it is easier than ever to get stuff to go. And I think it's easier to get invited to things, to get stuff for free, so that you're not investing as much as like we maybe invested in the beginning. So it's really interesting. I think it is a good time. You have more competition though. And we didn't have that.
And you got to work hard.
You do. We gave, I would say 120% to this channel for at least 3 years, where it was like flesh, blood, everything. We did not have a social life. We did not do anything else. This is all we did.
Well, Ruby will let you.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So, do you think in the next, because you were about 6 years ahead of the curve, do you think in 6 years that all CEOs will have their own podcast that they're bringing people
No,
on to?
I think it's too much of a time commitment. I think it's too much work, too much effort, too much of it. But maybe all casinos will eventually do. I know some others are looking at it.
Are they?
Podcast is interesting. It's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, and then they do cut them into short form
Correct.
to use them, but it's
Sound
a
bites.
totally different, totally different world.
It's
and
very
different
interesting.
people engaging with it.
Correct.
But we really appreciate you taking the time. I know there's
Yeah.
many other things you'd rather be doing, so thank you.
No,
for,
not at all.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
doing this. I'm going to take you on a little pastry tour downtown one day.
I would love that. Yes,
and
I
we're
need
gonna
to go
get you
eat
to
some
the
more.
new show.
I think I was so stuffed full of pastry after doing it for so long that like
you
I've
took a
kind of
break.
absolutely avoided anything. I used to do chocolate work and I did not touch chocolate for years. But I'm
thank
ready.
you.
I'm ready for a Danish.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks,
taking
guys.
the time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
You a fan of On the Corner of Main Street? You're listening, so we'll assume that's a yes. So share the love, rate, review, and tell a friend to subscribe. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram @PlazaPod, on Facebook, Plaza Podcast, and feel free to write to the man himself @JonathanJossel. We'll see you next time, right here on the corner of Main Street.